Good evening everyone. Welcome to the next session on agricultural economics for your AFO mains exam. So yesterday and day before we have done the basics or the foundational concepts, and I hope all of you went through the video and made your own notes. I would like to repeat myself that if you have any doubt or if you want any more concepts to be taught or more concepts to be added, please put them in the comment section and we will definitely get to it. So now continuing with our sessions, I think we will start with the cardinal utility analysis today. So this is one of the most basic or the most primary theorems or laws that came up in economics was from cardinal utility analysis, right? It is very important, even though it is not in use today. It is very important to understand how people studied economics and what improvements can be made on that. And we even today we still study it because we want to explore whether there are ways to better it, and whether there are ways to use it again, whether there are things we can include or delete from it so that it will become adaptable to the current situations that we are in. So let us start with our analysis today. I think we have done the basic concept of utility in our foundational classes. We will start again today with the little bit basic stuff. So now again I would like to remind you, like in every video, you can download the Oliveboard app and get all your notifications so that you can stay up to date on your lessons. Now starting with the history of why such a theorem, or how such a theorem came into existence. So firstly, as we already discussed the name Jeremy Bentham. So he was the person who used this utilitarian measures of pleasure and pain, right? He wanted to create a society which was so rational, which was so just to everyone, that he wanted to measure how much pleasure and how much pain people felt. So now how can we measure such a psychological and complex concept, right? So at that age, like maybe his book came out in 1789. In 1789, he put forth the concept of cardinal measurability, right? So this word will become very important. Cardinal measurability of pleasure and pain. Pleasure is satisfaction, pain is dissatisfaction. So his idea was that you can measure both pleasure and pain in cardinal terms. So cardinal terms means you don't have to get very confused. It is just that you can physically measure, you can quantify your pleasure or pain. He was of the idea that humans or people in general will be able to do this. Now building on to this concept was added by Gaussen, Jevons and Walras, and they kind of generalized this cardinal utility analysis, and according to them they went a step further and told that utility was additive also. Okay, now what do we mean by utility being additive? Now let us say there are two commodities that you are consuming, X and Y, right? So from X, if you are getting, let us say 10 utils, and from Y you are getting 15 utils, then according to these three famous economists, the point was that you can add these two, right? So utilities are additive, then your total utility will become 25. So we'll study total utility and marginal utility in the further slides, but for now you just need to know that after Jeremy Bentham, Gaussen, Jevons and Walras also stated that utilities can be additive. So this was one thing that they stated, and the next thing that they stated was that when you consume one commodity, the satisfaction that you get from that commodity is independent of satisfaction that you get from another commodity, right? So if you are consuming two goods, let us say X and Y, the utility that you get from consuming X is independent, or it doesn't depend on the utility that you get from consuming Y. So the utilities from two different goods are always independent. This was one more assumption of cardinal utility analysis. Now further, when neoclassical era started, Marshall and Pigou made it more advanced. They brought up LDMU, they brought up LEMU, which we will cover in this lecture again, right? So I think this is the evolution of cardinal utility analysis. It was first very basically done by Jeremy Bentham, and then the three main people were Gaussen, Jevons and Walras. They established or generalized it, and then Marshall and Pigou came up and they advanced it into newer levels so that consumer behavior can be studied. I want you people to understand that the main reason why all this is being done is because we want to understand consumer behavior, right? So all of us are consumers in some way, right? We consume goods and services on our day-to-day lives. So we want to understand this consumer behavior. Why? Why do you want to understand it? Because we spend money which is limited, right? Of course, we all know that money is limited, and we spend this limited resource on various goods and services, right? So we want to purchase many things, and this because money is limited, we have to pick. If I have 5 wants and I have limited money, I can only choose 2 of them. Then I have to pick out of the 5. Yesterday we did the concept of choice. We did the concept of decision making due to scarcity of resources, right? So because consumer has to make a choice daily, 24/7, you are making some sort of choice because resources are limited. This choice making behavior is studied. How does this consumer make these choices? And why is it important to study? Because once you know how the consumer is going to behave, or you know that okay, in such a situation consumer is going to make this choice, or when the consumer is presented with such a situation, he will make this particular preference, then you can accordingly produce goods and services. And when you produce goods and services, the economy will grow, there will be progress, there will be development, consumers will get lot of choices, right? So this is why consumer behavior is very, very important, right? Okay. So now one more concept that I want you to understand is, one more concept I want you to understand is, all economists involved in this analysis assumed random measurements of utility. This thing, random measurements of utility in terms of utils, right? So what is random measurement of utility? According to the people who presented this cardinal utility analysis, for them the measurement of utility was random. Let us say there is person A, he is consuming 3 commodities, X, Y and Z, okay? And you will ask him how much satisfaction or how much utility you got from X. He can state any random number up to his wish. If in his mind 50 is a good number, he will tell 50 utils. Then if Y had more satisfaction than X, then he will tell 100 utils. Then if Z had even more satisfaction than Y, he will tell 150 utils. This is completely random. This is only for person A. If you give the same products to person B, he might tell 3 different utils, right? He might get 3 different levels of satisfaction. He might get 0, 10, 20, or he might get 0 for all. It is absolutely random. It was not fixed, or it was not according to some standard measurement, right? So it would change for each person. This is very important. If in future classes, if I am taking up random numbers for the marginal utility or total utility, you need to understand the concept is such. The concept is random. It's not that I am making up theories or making up numbers. It's the fact that economists built it that way, that when we talked about satisfaction, they always took random numbers according to their wish. Clear? So that is one thing that you need to be clear and not get confused once we start doing the concepts. I hope it is clear till here. Let us move ahead. Now some basic concepts that you will have to study, right? So the first one is total utility. So what is total utility? It is the sum of utilities derived by consuming several quantities of a good or service. I think it is very obvious from the wording, total utility. When you consume numerous units of one commodity and you sum all the utilities of the various units, you get total utility. So an example is, let us say you are consuming some sweet, okay? You consume 5 pieces of some sweet, okay? Then there is unit 1, then there is unit 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? So the first unit gives you some satisfaction, second also, third also, similarly even the fourth and fifth. All are giving you some level of satisfaction or utility. That's why you are consuming it, right? Now, because all 5 are giving you some level of utility, how do we know what is your overall satisfaction? Let us say, what is your overall satisfaction from eating the sweet? It is nothing but utility from the first unit, utility from the second unit. Similarly, you will add all of this. So, U1 plus U2 plus U3 plus U4 plus U5. That will give you your total utility by when you consume 5 units of that sweet. So, it is the total satisfaction obtained by all units of the good or service consumed. If you consume, let us say 100 units of something. When you eat rice, do you count the number of grains? So, we can't count it. You don't know how many grains you ate, right? So, there can be any amount. So, it will go till UN. So, we say U1 till U10, when you sum it, you get the total utility. So, now after total utility, what is the concept that we have? We have marginal utility, right? So, marginal utility is very important because moving ahead, the cardinal utility analysis is also known as marginal utility analysis, because you don't use total utility everywhere. You are going to use marginal utility. So, you need to understand marginal utility very, very clearly. Now, total utility, we know that when you consume, for simplification sake, let us say you consume only 3 pieces of something, right? So, there is 2 and 3 pieces of one commodity X. You have already consumed. You have consumed 3 pieces of this commodity already. Now, someone is giving you the 4th piece, right? Someone is giving you the 4th piece. Now, already because you have consumed 3 units, you have some total utility with you. You are feeling some total level of satisfaction. To this total utility, some more utility is added when you consume the 4th unit, right? So, when you consume this additional unit of the commodity, some extra utility is added to your total utility. That extra utility is your marginal utility, right? So, what is marginal utility? The utility derived by consuming one additional unit of the commodity. You need to understand one additional unit. You should have already consumed some units, right? If you have consumed 5 units of something and someone gives you the 6th unit, that 6th unit will add some utility to your total utility, correct? Then that is your marginal utility of the 6th unit. We will calculate it in the further slides, then it will be more clear. So, here it is marginal utility is equal to change in total utility divided by change in quantity consumed, right? So, how do we represent this? You can represent it in a different way also. Let us say there are only 2 units, first unit and second unit. Then, what is the marginal utility between the second and first unit? Because second unit is an additional unit to the first unit. So, then it will be total utility of 2 units minus total utility of 1 unit divided by quantity of 2 units by quantity of first. See, I am again telling you, in the when we say Q2 minus Q1, Q2 need not always be in singular term. It need not always be 1, 2, 3, the quantity. It can also be, let us say 10 kgs, 20 kgs, 30 kgs, or it can be 5 liters, 25 liters, 65 liters, whatever you want. The quantity can change. First you might consume 5 liters, then you might consume 25, then you might consume 65. You need not always consume one after one, right? So, that is why Q2 minus Q1 is very, very important, right? So, what is the marginal utility definition? Let us repeat it again. So, marginal utility is nothing but the additional utility provided by one extra unit of a commodity. The formula is change in total utility by change in quantity. So, here you can see it is also TUN minus TUN minus 1. So, it is nothing but TUN, total utility at nth unit, by minus total utility at n minus 1th unit. Clear? So, now I think I would like to make one distinction. I hope the slide is visible, the blank slide, right? So, now let us say there is quantity right? Then there is total utility and there is marginal utility. Okay. Right. So there is the first unit, second unit, third unit, fourth unit. You need to understand the terminology, that is why I am doing this. When I say 1 unit, or it might be, when I say 2 units, I mean 1 and 2 both, right? When I say 2 units, I mean 1 and 2 both. When I say second unit, I mean only the second one, right? This applies to everything. When I say 3 units, I mean all the 3. When I say third unit, I mean only the third one. I hope this is clear, because we'll keep saying first unit or 1 unit, you shouldn't get confused. So when I say 2 units, I mean the total utility of 2 units, right? So what is the total utility of 2 units? Utility of 1 plus utility of 2. What is total utility of 3 units? Utility of 1 plus utility of 2 plus utility of 3. Clear? I hope this is clear. Now, what you are seeing here is the graph of total utility and marginal utility. Here you can see the total utility curve is increasing. It reaches a stagnant point here and it then starts decreasing, right? Then marginal utility is continuously decreasing. Then it reaches 0 and then it goes to the negative side. This is a very, very important connection. Here, if I connect these 2 points, you can see that when total utility is equal to maximum, then marginal utility is equal to 0. Can you see that? When total utility is maximum, marginal utility is equal to 0. This is applicable in all commodities, in all transactions, wherever you are considering total utility and marginal utility. This, I think it's not visible to some. Total utility is maximum, then marginal utility is 0. This is a compulsory thing that will exist. This relationship will not go away anywhere, no matter what commodity or no matter what kind of goods and service we are talking about, right? Okay. Now, what are some characteristics of utility? I think in last class also I have told utility is subjective. So, subjective means it depends on the person who is using the commodity. I think we took the example of specs, right? So, to a person who has eyesight or eye problems, the specs is going to give him lot of utility. It is very good for his health, it is very good for his vision, right? But for someone who doesn't have that problem, that specs will become a hindrance. It won't give him satisfaction, it will give him dissatisfaction, right? So, is the specs changing? Is the price of the specs changing? No. The only thing that is changing is the person who is using it. So, can't we say that the utility derived from a commodity depends on the person who is using it, right? So, that statement that I told can be put into one word known as subjective. When we say something is subjective, it means it depends on the person who is using it. Okay. So, some people will say, if I have to give another example, that movie depends on the person who sees it. He might like it, he might not like it. That means that movie is subjective. The movie, entertainment of the movie is subjective, right? So, if you like thriller, you like the thriller movie. If you don't like thrillers or you get scared, you won't like the movie. But the movie stays same. So, the satisfaction you are getting from the movie is subjective. So, the utility, no matter what service, what commodity you are using, utility is always subjective. I hope you don't forget that, because it is very, very important, right? Then, what utility varies with purpose. Let us say a commodity has lot of uses, like your water. This commodity has lot of uses, right? So, it can be put to various purpose. You can clean with it, you can drink with it, you can bath with it, right? You can play with it, you can do whatever you want. You can cook with it, correct? So, it has lot of purposes. So, when it the utility derived from the commodity depends on what purpose you are using it for. Let us say you are very thirsty. You are praying that someone gives you water, but your mom is telling, no, I want the entire water for cooking or for cleaning, right? So then the utility will be more to you if you are allowed to drink it than using it for cleaning or cooking, right? So if you are very thirsty and if someone gives you water, will you start bathing with it or will you drink it, right? If you are dying from thirst and someone gives you water, you will start drinking it first than you cleaning with it or cooking with it or whatever. So when a commodity has multiple purposes or when a commodity can be put to multiple uses, then we say that the utility varies with the purpose. So the utility doesn't remain the same. Okay. Then varies with time. The same commodity, if used after some period of time, utility will increase or decrease. Okay. So for example, I can give you, let us say, food. When it is freshly cooked, utility is very high, very nutritious, very fresh, very tasty, everything is very good. Satisfaction is also very nice, right? But if you leave it for lot of days, if you keep it in the fridge or keep it in the open for lot of days and try to eat it later, will you get the same level of utility? Of course we won't. Either the food would have spoiled, it would have gotten cold, or something else would have happened, correct? So when I say varies with time, the same commodity when used at different periods of time will give different level of utility. Then varies with ownership. Ownership, we know, when you own something you can do whatever you want with it. That is what we call ownership, right? So now let us say someone who has more of something and someone who has less of something, or he doesn't have, nil. He has nil of it, right? So now let us take an example of cars. Cars, let us say some person has 5 cars and this person has 0 cars. Okay. Now if let us say these two people are friends. He is person A, he is person B. Okay. Now these two A and B are friends. Now B is in need of a car because he got job outside, little far away from his house, and he wants a car because two-wheelers are not safe, the roads are not good, he has to drive daily up and down. So he needs a car, right? Now he knows that A has 5 cars and A doesn't use all his 5 cars daily. Am I right? Will you use 5 cars daily? Will you drive in 5 cars? No. We use only 1 car at a time even though you have 5 cars, right? So now what B does? B will go to A and he will tell, see, you have 5 cars. Can you please lend me one of your cars? I will pay you. I will pay you whatever it is, either in EMI or whatever, their calculations. So now what is happening? The ownership of the car will change. Here it will become -1. Here it will become +1. So what happens? He has 4 cars. He has 1 car. Correct? Now can I say the ownership of this car changed? First the owner was A. Now the owner became B. Now can I say the utility that this one car is giving to B? Now let me write it as UB. The utility this one car is giving to B, that is UB, is greater than the utility that it was giving to A, right? Because B has only 1 of it. A had 5 of it and it doesn't matter to him. He still has 4. It's not like all his cars are gone. Only 1 car is gone. Now due to change in ownership, that same car didn't change, car color didn't change, model didn't change, price didn't change, nothing happened. Just what changed? The person who owns it changed, right? So when ownership is changing, this utility is increasing, right? UB is greater than UA. So this is why we say that utility varies with ownership. I am not going to say utility always increases with ownership. Utility always changes with ownership. From somebody who has less, if a person who has less gets even 1 commodity, 1 unit of the commodity, the utility that it will give him is very, very high. Then the 5th one is need not be synonymous with pleasure. Now what does this mean? Utility, we said it is the want satisfying power of a commodity. but it need not always be satisfaction. It can also be some kind of unsatisfaction, or it can also be some kind of painful experience. Let us say like getting a surgery done, right? So getting a surgery done, I know it is very important for your health. You require, if a doctor says that you have to get this surgery to live healthily in the future, of course it is very important to get it. But is it a very joyful experience that you go to the hospital singing, dancing, and you lay down on the bed and you come back singing, dancing? No, it's a very painful experience. Even though it is very, very, it will give you a lot of utility, it will extend your life, it will make you healthy, it is giving you so much utility. It's not a pleasurable experience, it's a painful experience, right? So when we say utility, it need not always be good thing or joyous or pleasure or something like that. So sometimes some things which give you pain also has lot of utility, right? So that is the meaning. Then utility does not mean satisfaction. I think this I have been telling from the beginning. Utility is not equal to satisfaction. Utility is the power of an object to give satisfaction. Okay. So these are the characteristics of utility. Now coming to LDMU. So this is where the laws of economics or cardinal utility analysis start. Okay. So this what you say, LDMU is law of diminishing marginal utility. It was given by H.H. Gosson. If you remember, H.H. Gosson is the person who said that utility is additive, utility of different components are independent of each other, and so and so. So now what he told is that when a person has more and more of a commodity, the utility derived from it or the marginal utility derived from it keeps on decreasing. So I'll repeat again. When a person has more and more of a commodity, the marginal utility obtained from that commodity keeps on decreasing. Now what is marginal utility? Let us remember, marginal utility is nothing but the additional utility obtained by consuming one additional unit of that commodity. Clear? I am repeating, it is the additional utility obtained by consuming one additional unit of the commodity. Now this marginal utility keeps on decreasing when you have more and more of something. Clear? Let us understand this with a simple example. I think there is no better example than food. I think all of us like sweets, right? I don't know, some sweet. Let us not take names, then it will become a war. Okay. So there is some sweet. Let us say you had first unit of that sweet, first piece of that sweet, and you are very happy, it's very tasty. And because you love that sweet so much, you go take a second one, you go take a third one, and somebody offers you a fourth one, then someone else offers you a fifth one. How many can you eat? Will you keep on eating if as and when you get the sweet? You will stop at some point, right? You will put brakes that this is enough for today, I can't eat any more of it. So why do you get that feeling? Why do you stop consuming something as and when you get more and more of it? Shouldn't you be happy that you're getting more and more of that commodity? It is very good, it is so tasty, let me eat more and more and more. Do we do that? We don't do that. We stop at some point because the additional satisfactions. Now let us say you have already had 5 units of that sweet. Now there is one additional unit that somebody is giving you, which is the 6th unit, right? Which is the 6th unit. Then you will get some marginal utility from this. Here you already have some total utility by consuming 1 to 5. Right? Then someone gives you the 6th unit, one additional unit. Then you get some additional satisfaction or some additional utility, which is the marginal utility of the 6th unit. Correct? Now this marginal utility is less than the total utility that you are getting from the 5 things. And the marginal utility of the 7th will be even lesser. Marginal utility of 8th will be even lesser. And some point marginal utility will reach 0, right? So now I want you to remember, when marginal utility is 0, we know that total utility will be maximum. That is why I told you that relationship is very important. When marginal utility becomes 0, your total utility, that means the entire satisfaction that you can get by consuming that product, has reached its peak. After the peak, there is only downfall. You can't go higher than the peak. If a mountain has a peak, you can only climb till there. Can you climb further? No, we can't. We can only get down after the peak has come, after we reach the peak, right? So, once marginal utility is 0, and then we know that total utility is maximum, and once the maximum point has reached, there is only decreasing from there. So, even when, let us say, you further continue, even after marginal utility reaches 0, you further continue, then marginal utility becomes negative. Once marginal utility becomes negative, your total utility will decrease. When your total utility decreases, we don't call it as satisfaction, we call it as dissatisfaction. We say you are undergoing dissatisfaction because even though you are paying for that unit and consuming, right? Even though for that unit you pay, are you getting it for free? Of course not. You are paying money and you are feeling dissatisfied. Is that good? It's absolutely not good. It's absolutely not necessary, right? So, what does LDMU state? As and when a person has more and more of a commodity, the marginal utility derived from it keeps on decreasing. So, there are some assumptions, right? So, assumption means it may be true or may not be true, right? Uniformity of the product, this is very important. So, when I say that you consumed a sweet, the size of the sweet, the color of the sweet, the taste of the sweet, the structure, texture, who made it, everything, where you ate it, everything is same. It is constant. Product is uniform. It doesn't change, right? Now, it's not like first unit you ate from company A, then second you ate from company B, then you ate from company C, the fourth unit you ate another flavor. No, it doesn't happen like that. Everything is the same. So, it doesn't change at all. That you need to keep in mind. Only when you assume this, then this LDMU holds constant. Don't you agree? If let us say you are eating some sweet and somebody is giving you different flavors every time, then don't you feel like eating it more and more? But if you eat the same thing, then you will reach a point of maximum satisfaction. Then continuous consumption. Continuous consumption means you sat and you started eating and you didn't stop. It doesn't mean that I ate one sweet today, I will eat one more tomorrow evening, one more day after tomorrow evening. No, you are undergoing continuous consumption. Imagine you are at a function and somebody is feeding you sweet continuously. That is what we are assuming. That is what we think the consumer is doing. Okay. Then the third one, it is expected that the consumer's likes and preferences and financial situation won't change. So, what you like, what you don't like, what you want, and your income, budget, everything remains same. Suddenly, in the middle of eating that favorite sweet of yours, if you change your mind, okay, this is not my favorite sweet anymore, I will stop eating. Then, you won't reach that maximum satisfaction point. So, when we say this is the assumption, we mean the consumer's likes, dislikes, income, budget, everything is constant. Nothing will change. Nothing is changing at all, right? So, that is LDMU. Now, let us understand how it works. Okay. I think little I will make myself smaller just for now. Okay. I hope now the table is visible. Okay. So, now let us understand how it works. If you can see here in the table, there is units or this is nothing but quantity. This is total utility. This is marginal utility. There is something known as the zeroth unit or the zero unit. What does it mean? It's simple. It means that you are not doing any consumption. You have not yet started consuming. That is what zeroth unit means. So, now let me read out the points. As per the table, the first unit gives marginal utility of 20. Can you see the first unit gives marginal utility of 20? Why? Because you didn't consume anything here. Your total utility was 0. Then suddenly you started consuming first unit. So, what is the formula for marginal utility? Total utility of n minus total utility of n minus 1. So, what will it be here? Total utility of fun minus total utility of 0, which is nothing but 20 minus 0. Again, you can't see. 1 minute. I think now this is better. Yes. So, can you see that total utility of n minus total utility of n minus 1? That means total utility of 1 minus total utility of 0. That is 20 minus 0. That is why this is 20. Now, in a similar way, if we calculate for all the units, then we are getting the marginal utilities one by one. So, it is 20, 16, 8, 4, 0, minus 10. Now, let us see what this is. So, the first unit gives marginal utility of 20, second unit gives 16 and so on. So, finally, it becomes 0. This is what LDMU states. Can you see the number of units is increasing? Right? So, the amount that the consumer is consuming is keep on increasing. It's not decreasing. But as and when the units are, the amount you are consuming is increasing, the marginal utility is decreasing. So, here it is increasing, but here it is decreasing. Correct? So, this is what LDMU states. Where as and when a person has more and more of a commodity, the marginal utility derived from it keeps on decreasing. This is what LDMU states. Accordingly, TU, that is total utility, keeps on increasing until maximum satisfaction is reached. Now, let us see the point where maximum satisfaction is reached. Now, I'll put it up in a different color. Let us take blue. Now, can you see this point? Right? So, here what is happening? TU is increasing, no doubt, but MU is decreasing. MU decreases to 0. Can you see what is TU here? It is the maximum one. Now, you might ask, TU is 48 here also, but MU is not 0, right? So, what is the relationship? We know when MU is 0, TU should be maximum. This is the relationship that we want. So, TU keeps on increasing. It reaches maximum when marginal utility reaches 0. So, when MU is equal to 0, TU is equal to maximum. Once MU starts becoming negative, TU starts decreasing. Again, I am telling you, the relationship is that when marginal utility is decreasing, total utility is increasing but at a decreasing rate. Total utility is no doubt increasing, but it is increasing at a decreasing rate. When marginal utility is 0, total utility becomes maximum, right? And when marginal utility is negative, the total utility starts altogether decreasing. This is what we saw in the graph. I hope it is clear till here. Now, what is the next one? The next one is law of equimarginal utility. Here, we are talking about money, we are talking about consuming. So, I hope all of you are staying attentive and listening to the lecture, because these are the basics and these are still some things that you need to absolutely know when you are talking about agricultural economics. Okay. So, now what is law of equimarginal utility? It is also known as Gauss's second law. First law is LDMU. This is your Gauss's second law. It is also known as law of substitution or the law of maximum satisfaction. Right? So, let me read out the points. The law explains the relation between the consumption of two or more products and what combination of consumption of these products will give maximum satisfaction. Now, here till now in LDMU we were talking about only one sweet, right? So, have you ever seen yourself eating only one commodity or purchasing only one commodity or wanting only one thing? Absolutely not. We all want multiple things, right? Now, let me put a blank slide. Let us do some basics first. Now, when we talk about LDMU, we were talking about one commodity, okay? So, now that we have come to LEMU, that is law of equimarginal utility, please make this clear. We are going to start talking about multiple commodities. multiple goods or even services, whatever you want, right? So there will be multiple goods or services. For simplification's sake, we will only take two goods. To explain to you the law, I will be taking only two goods. Two is also still multiple. Okay. Then there is a fixed income. Anybody who is earning unlimited income? In the students or in the audience who are listening? Nobody. Nobody is earning unlimited income. Everybody has a fixed income. Correct? So now you need to understand these two things to move forward with LEMU. We are going to talk about two goods and we are going to look at it from a perspective of fixed income. Okay, so the consumer has fixed income. Now what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of having to purchase two goods with fixed income? Now let us say you have only 10 rupees. This is your fixed income. Okay, and you want to purchase X and Y. X is 2 rupees, Y is 5 rupees. Okay. Now, if you purchase 5 X's, can you purchase any Y? Then there will be 0 Y's. Correct? If you want to purchase one Y, I am repeating, if you want to purchase one Y, you need to deduct some of your X's. You need to stop purchasing 5 X's. Maybe you will purchase 2 X's and 1 Y. Correct? You will purchase 2X and 1 Y. What is happening here? You are substituting. You are substituting X with Y. Am I correct? You are substituting X with Y. So that's why we call this as law of substitution. So when a person has fixed income, he has to spend it among two commodities. He has to choose how he will spend it. Right? He has to know, oh okay, I have only 10 rupees and there are two goods that I want to spend it on. How will I spend it? Whether will I purchase all X, all Y or a combination of X and Y. That the person has to understand. So this is what LEMU tells you. This is what LEMU makes you understand. That you know, how should the person divide his income so that his his satisfaction is maximum. So the consumer will not compare marginal utility of each unit of goods with each other. We are not going to compare marginal utility of each unit. We are going to compare marginal utility of each rupee spent. Okay, we are going to consume marginal utility of each rupee spent. So for this, I will put a concept of marginal utility of money expenditure. Marginal utility of money expenditure. What is that? We denote it by MUM. This is very important. So what is the formula of MUM? MUM is nothing but MUX by PX. So here your MUX is marginal utility of commodity X and PX is equal to price of X. Okay. So this formula, this marginal utility formula that I am showing you here, this is what we are going to compare. So when marginal utility of money expenditure of various commodities is equal, then we say the consumer is in equilibrium. Now like I told you, the consumer has fixed income, but he needs to spend that fixed income on lot of commodities, not only X. He has X and Y, right? So he has two goods to purchase. So then there will be marginal utility of X, marginal utility of Y. There will be price of X and there will be price of Y. According to LEMU, these two should be equal to marginal utility of money expenditure. Only when this holds true, the consumer is said to be in consumer equilibrium. Right? Only then he is said to be in consumer equilibrium. Being in consumer equilibrium means he is getting maximum satisfaction. He is getting maximum satisfaction from the money that he is spending. Okay. So here also you can see, obviously I took only 2 commodities. Here the commodities is still nth commodity. How many ever you want, infinity is the limit, right? So till nth commodity, all of them should equal marginal utility of money expenditure. Now you need to very clearly understand this. When you have some fixed income and you want to purchase 2 things, it is, what are you doing? You are allocating that income between the 2 things, correct? So now let us say you want to buy clothes as well as footwear and you have only 1000 rupees. You will divide that 1000 rupees between clothes and footwear. What are you doing? You are allocating the income between clothes and footwear, right? So when we say consumer is in equilibrium, or when we say LEMU gives you the equilibrium point, we mean that once the consumer is dividing his income in this way, in what way? When the marginal utility of money expenditure is same across all commodities, he will not get satisfaction like this in any other allocation. Clear? He will get highest satisfaction only when he allocates money in this way and not in any other way, right? So now let us take an example where you will understand it better, right? Now here can you see, consumer has 35 rupees. He wants to purchase 2 commodities, X and Y. The marginal utility of X, marginal utility of Y is given to you. You need this. Here the price of X and price of Y, sorry, I think it is missing. Price of X is 4 rupees, price of Y is 5 rupees. Okay. Now you know PX, PY, you know MUX and MUY also. Now it should equal each other. MUX by PX should equal MUY by PY. So this column is giving you MUX by PX, this column is giving you MUY by PY. It is nothing but marginal utility of money expenditure. Okay. So can we see where it is equal? It is equal here and it is equal here, correct? So what is this? This is 5 units of X and this is 3 units of Y. So can you see at that point, MUX by PX is equal to MUY by PY is equal to 6. 6 is your MUM. Okay. So here if 5 pieces of X and 3 pieces of Y are purchased, MUX by PX and MUY by PY are equivalent to 6. The client spends all of his income, that is rupees 35. The entire amount is spent by purchasing this combination. What is the combination? 5X, 3Y. Okay, resulting in maximum satisfaction. So when he is purchasing 5 units of X, what is the satisfaction that he is getting? 10. You need to, sorry, this is, you don't need to add this one. You need to add marginal utility. You need to add 40 plus 36 plus 32 plus 28 plus 24 plus 55 plus 50 plus 30. That will be your total utility, right? Because let me do the math so that you don't get confused. Now he is consuming, we know that he is consuming 5 units of X, right? Then there will be some total utility of X. So what is total utility of X? 40 plus 36 plus 32. 40 plus 36 plus 32 plus 28 plus 24. What is this? 76 and this is 108, 136. So this will be 160. So total utility of X is 160. Now he is also consuming. He is also consuming 3 units of Y. 55 plus 50 plus 30. So what is total utility of Y? 55 plus 50 plus 30. So this is 105 plus 30, 135. he is consuming both, right? He is consuming 5 units of X and 3 units of Y. Then his overall total utility will be total utility of X plus total utility of Y, which is 160 plus 135, which is nothing but 295, right? So his total utility is 295. According to LEMU, this is the maximum satisfaction that the person can get by using this LEMU concept, because his marginal utility of money expenditure is equal to each other. Then he is not going to get this much satisfaction in any other combination. This is the only satisfaction, this is the only way, or this is the only area where he is going to get this much satisfaction, right? So I think I drew on the screen. I will look into it later. So I hope all of you understood the lecture today. So today we did LDMU, we did LEMU, and we studied cardinal utility analysis. I hope this was very clear. Kindly, if you want some reading material, right, if you want to read on your own, you can read Subba Reddy, Agricultural Economics. There's a 4-author book. It is a very, very good book. I think it's like a, it's like the main book that we study for agricultural economics. If you want to go towards, if you want to read little bit of, advanced level of explanations, with graphs and with equations and mathematical functions, you can even read Ahuja. Ahuja is not a very bad book. Advanced microeconomic theory, or even beginner level, intermediary microeconomic theory is also there. Beginner level, you can even read from that. And from next class, maybe I'll put up few inserts or screenshots of the explanations in the book, so that it will help you people also. I think that is it for today. We did cardinal utility analysis. I hope all of you liked it. Please stay tuned. Please keep watching the lectures for further information and further videos. I hope it was a very good session to all of you. Thank you.